Good evening. Welcome to the Planning Board meeting Monday, September 22nd, 2014. Roll call.
Board Member Bolt. Board Member Van. Board Member Elrod. Board Member Green.
Here. Whoa.
Board Member Moore.
Here.
Board Member
Here.
Acting Chair Samuelson.
Here.
Board Member Miles. Board Member Schrader.
We have a quorum. Okay. First item on the agenda, approval of the agenda. Any changes necessary?
Two-page agenda? No, the one from last week.
Motion to approve the minutes from September 11th.
So moved.
Second. I don't know if can I second? I wasn't here.
Saw the videotape. Oh. Approved. Next item, scheduled or unscheduled appearances. Anyone care to address the board about items that are not on tonight's agenda? Please come forward, state your name and address. No one? No one? Okay. Next item is the public hearing. Resolution recommending approval to rezone property known as Plum Valley Subdivisions, Lot 7-16 from PDX to PDC.
Good evening, board members. I'm Jan Dickinson, principal planner. I'll be presenting this to you tonight. This is a rezoning of Plum Valley Subdivision, lots 7-16, and I will be giving you the exhibits, which are the city staff report attachments, the application attachments, an area reference map, the city comp plan and citywide plan by reference, the city zoning ordinance by reference, the official zoning maps by reference, the proof of posting, the proof of publication, and the public hearing roster. Is this working?
Working.
There you go.
On?
Trying to get the volume turned up,
Not loud enough.
and we'll get the video straightened out.
Gonna have to pan them on. Interpretive dance. We'd like you to do an interpretive dance.
Okay, I can. Well, I guess I can go ahead without the slideshow. The property that, well, it'd be nice to have the map up, but the property that we're looking at tonight is 11.42 acre parcel that's located east of Lucent Boulevard, south of County Line Road, and north of C470. The Highline Canal borders the north and east and west sides of the property, and an existing car dealership, the Ralph Schomp BMW, and the future Mini Cooper and Honda dealerships are located adjacent and south of this site. What? I guess I could put these up. Thank you. If this works, I don't know. Anyway, this property was included in a larger annexation back in 1992. It was called Plum Valley Subdivision, annexed into the city. Most of that property had single-family residential on the west side of the canal, and this property that that we're looking at tonight was vacant. At the time, the city adopted a new zone district, which was basically a holding district. It was a PDX, and that was to allow property to annex into the city if they didn't have immediate plans for development. It allowed them to retain the existing uses on the property until such time development was proposed. And the code requires at that time that the property be rezoned to either planned development, industrial, commercial, or residential. So tonight, the applicant is proposing to rezone this to planned development commercial. They also own the Honda dealers, the BMW, Honda, Mini Cooper dealerships to the south. And they would like to use this property in accessory to their existing dealership, initially to use for vehicle inventory storage and employee parking. The PD that's been presented to you tonight also anticipates any future redevelopment of the property beyond car inventory, whereas another dealership could either be put on this property or accessory uses to the existing dealership, like car washes, repair service shops, sales buildings. The PD plan has proposes some development standards, which include the minimum requirement of 20% unobstructed open space, which is required for the PDCs. They are also proposing a standard to provide a 50-foot wide building setback and landscape buffer along the property that abuts the Highline Canal to help protect and preserve that canal. Then they're also proposing 30-foot minimum building setbacks along the other property line, which is basically the south property line. It's not adjacent to the canal. And for any future buildings that might occur on that property, they've proposed a maximum floor area ratio of 5:1 and a maximum building height of 60 feet. And vehicular access will be provided to the site through Plum Valley Lane, which is a public street in unincorporated Douglas County, and it connects the property to Lucent Boulevard. And then they will get further access through their adjacent dealership to this site. The stormwater is basically going to be draining to a pond that's to the north, west of the site, across from Highline Canal. It's part of this subdivision as well. But there's an existing regional pond there that's maintained by the Highlands Ranch Metro District. So this property will drain to that site, and it will actually drain via a pipe that goes underneath the canal. Their utilities, in order to get city utilities, it's quite a long haul. Their property currently that they have now is serviced by Highlands Ranch Metro District, and the proposal is for their new property to be also serviced by Highlands Ranch Metro District, since their utilities are more closely located. The city staff reviewed the proposal in consistency with the comprehensive plan, and that's laid out in your staff report. We feel that it will bring benefit to the community by zoning additional commercial property in Littleton to allow more employment opportunities and future service and retail services as well. We also feel that it met the goal regarding the Outdoor Littleton Policy 2.6, and that they are proposing to preserve the existing tree shrub masses along the canal and to provide additional open space buffering along the canal to protect that amenity as well. And anyway, staff does feel that it meets the citywide plan, promotes the general welfare of the community, and also meets the pertinent statements of the Plan Development District, and staff recommends approval. So if you have, the applicant is here tonight with their engineer, and they'll be providing a presentation, and are here to answer questions that you may have.
Anybody have questions of Jan right now?
Jan, what's the floor area ratio of other buildings, other sites in the area? Does it match the 5:1?
Well, mostly what's in the area is auto dealerships that are in Douglas County, unincorporated Douglas County. So I don't know what their floor area ratio is for their existing facility.
Okay, so no comparison was done.
No.
As typically is done because it's Douglas County. Okay.
Could you speak a little bit about the, I guess, objection letter sent by the Highlands Ranch Metro District and its impact or relevance in the deliberation?
Well, in tonight's deliberation, there's not that much impact with it. I was just giving you some history that in the time that the applicants had made this desire known to the city that they wanted to rezone this property that's located in the city, we talked with them about possibly annexing their existing site into the city, which they were all in favor of doing. So they did submit an annexation petition to the city, and we were about to start that process to annex their existing dealership into the city. Highlands Ranch Metro District, of course, knew about this, and they had concerns and objections, and they submitted that letter voicing their objections, which I believe were basically they were kind of concerned that Littleton had intentions to annex more property in Highlands Ranch into the city. And as consequently, the applicant chose to withdraw their annexation petition. So I was just giving you some history in that because it did come up, and like the traffic study they submitted and some of the things they submitted with the zoning anticipated the other property coming in with it, because it would have gone through a zoning process as well as this.
So this property currently exists as part of the city of
Is
Littleton.
in the city, yes.
The consideration to bring the auto dealership to turn it into a Littleton entity instead of a Highlands Ranch entity is not what we're talking about.
Right, that's correct. So tonight we're just considering a loan. The applicant chose to go ahead and proceed with this rezoning application. They have the property under contract, and so they wanted to proceed ahead, and they need this site to make their existing dealership work well for them. So we're considering this separately.
Thank you.
Question, you said one of the things it addresses on the comp plan is it promotes the general welfare of the community. I'm having trouble connecting that dot.
Not very near the community, is it? Well, we're stating that because it is property that's located in the city of Littleton. Right now, it basically has, it's vacant. The property next to it that's part of the same subdivision was originally kind of semi-agricultural residential property. That property was actually acquired by the city for open space. This property is still vacant, still viable for something, and we felt that it's promoting the general welfare of the city because it is by zoning it commercially. We're adding to the commercial inventory of property in the city that serves as a basis for providing commercial development that could result in employments, retail sales, services, rather than it either being residential or being just vacant or so that's and although right now their initial proposal for the property is to use it for vehicle inventory, storage, and parking for their existing dealership, the PD plan does allow additional uses so that in the future, if they chose to expand their dealership and the sales and everything onto this property with buildings, or if another dealership came in and wanted to put sales there, we'd have sales and auto service. That there would be employment. We do get tax revenue from this parts and the services. So that's what.
Jen, one question. At this time, does the city maintain any roads to this property?
No, we don't. Plum Valley Lane is actually a public street in unincorporated Douglas County, and I believe maintained by Douglas County or the Metro District or whatever. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions for Jan? Applicant?
Okay.
Ready?
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. My name is David Foster, here on behalf of the applicant, address 360 South Garfield. First, I think I might like just to bring these up. Sure.
Totally dead. We've decided.
Thanks.
I started practicing law before we had overheads and PowerPoints, so I always kind of bring something just in case we need it. First, I want to thank your staff. Jan and Glenn have been terrific to work with, as you probably already know, but it's nice to appreciate them. And I also want to introduce Mark Wallace, who is my client and the applicant tonight, and we're also joined by Jamie Overgaard from Lund Partnership as our civil engineer, my colleague Brad Lozo. So this is it's a good story. The story is that after nearly 30 years of owning and operating a dealership in Littleton, the needs have caused the owner to find a replacement property to grow their facility to meet the needs of a dealership. And so, as you can see from the exhibit that I've passed out, you have Mr. Wallace combining the BMW, the Honda, and the Mini dealerships all into kind of one property here, one campus. And so the property to the north is the property that's in Littleton that we're looking today to rezone to allow for this opportunity to place our inventory. And to Mr. Graham's question as it relates to the annexation, we originally thought it just made sense from a planning perspective to be in one jurisdiction. And Littleton seemed to be the right choice to combine the sites. But, best laid plans as we had set out. And, of course, Mr. Wallace and his family have had an ongoing commitment to this community. And they'll continue to have an ongoing commitment to the community because, notwithstanding the fact that they're moving their current dealership to this new site, they'll continue to have property within Littleton that they will, need to find future uses for. And so they're going to continue to be members of your business community. And I know that they've participated frequently in the endeavors of this community. As Jan had mentioned, when you rezone property, there's an immediate need for it, which is shown on this plan. But then there's the opportunity for development in the future, and whether it's a 5-to-1 floor area ratio, I mean that's that would be quite a dense site. But the more development that occurs along that corridor, the more valuable the property will be. And at some point, as we all can recognize, the land will be valuable enough that you will figure out ways to, build structured parking and other ways in which to, develop the site more intensely over time. And so the zoning that we're seeking tonight will allow for that opportunity. And then lastly, and I want to be clear about this, this isn't part of the rezoning, but it's an opportunity for you to understand what's in the minds of Mr. Wallace and his family. They've purchased a larger swath of ground than just what we're rezoning tonight. And while it's not a condition of the rezoning tonight, they're contemplating how to best create a non-buildable opportunity on the acreage that you can see that sits to the west of this particular site, whether that's in, deeding it to the city, whether there's a conservation easement, but making sure that that site remains undeveloped for the future, which I think is a great community benefit, but again, isn't related to tonight's rezoning application, but shows the ongoing commitment that he and his family have made to Littleton, but that really should come as no surprise to anybody. Happy to answer any questions that anybody has. Mr. Wallace is here, Jamie Overgaard, our civil engineer is here, so happy to help answer any questions that you might have.
Barry? Mark?
Under the citywide comprehensive plan, they talk about safeguard and enrich the city's other outdoor resources, including the Highline Canal. I'm looking at your package, page 4 of your general PD plan. You have some fairly steep embankments there in order to try to level out the site as best you can. So I guess just a general question as to how are you going to landscape that steep embankment? I see you have some retaining walls. One is one's 7.5 feet high. The other one is considerably higher on the east side. Could you address that issue, and how are you going to safeguard the Highline Canal from runoff, or not runoff because you're going to take care of the runoff, but sediment, et cetera?
Hi, I'm Jamie Overgard with the Lend Partnership, civil engineer for the project. What we've done is, you're right, to kind of level off the site, to be able to park vehicles on it, we had to kind of level it off, and we have a slope at the south end of the site, as you notice, and also one at the north end of the site. The south end had to be a little bit less of a slope because we have to have access, obviously, into the site, so we couldn't take up a lot of grade at the south. On the north end of the site, that'll be a 3-to-1 slope, and you're right, what we're planning on doing is more heavy landscaping of evergreen trees along those slopes and in that area to help not only stabilize the slope, but also screen the cars in the parking lot that are in that location. So that's what we kind of plan on doing. We're going to work with the city's arborist, I believe it's the arborist that they call it, and work out what we're going to do as far as the landscaping goes to help screen and to stabilize those slopes. Because we'll have to come in with a site plan for approval with this project. Once we get approved zoning-wise, we'll come in with a site plan that actually shows how it's going to be landscaped.
What is the structure, the retaining wall is going to be built out of what?
At this time, we don't know. Probably CMU brick, block, wall. We'll probably try to coordinate it with the dealerships to the south and use the same type of brick that we use down there, which is a CMU split face tan color. But again, that'll be part of the review process too when we come in for the site plan that the city will get to review on their end. The planning department will.
You can't show it on the screen because there's no screen, but you have a landscape plan that you can.
We do not have a landscape plan. We did have a note on the cover sheet, I believe, that kind of covered landscaping. It's been a while since we had that note. Do you have the cover sheet of your plan?
Yes, well, it's on the little screen here.
It's the second column over, note number 15. And we talk about the coverage and what's going to be required by the city and that type of thing.
Well, I'll read it. Let's not hold up the hearing.
Okay.
Over that. Thank you.
Carrie, anything? Questions?
I guess my question is, and maybe you don't have an answer, thoughts on long-term plans? Is this, obviously it's parking for now. What is the, where do you see it 10 years from now? Is it still going to be parking?
Again, I mean, I think it's the evolution of a business. And so as, the business continues to evolve and, other services may be required of, customers, you build new facilities in order to provide, the very best service. There's a very competitive marketplace, as you know, so you just try and continue to provide better and better services, more different services. And so I think that the Schomp family has always shown their ability to kind of stay a little bit ahead of the marketplace there.
Once you've completed this project, how many automobiles will be able to be parked on that lot? Do you have a number?
Approximately 1,000.
Okay.
Can I ask one more? This is maybe a question for Jan and for the applicant. The parking lot has no interior islands for trees or anything of that nature, which typically occurs in parking lots in other areas of Littleton. I see nothing here. It's just asphalt. A couple of little islands at the perimeter, but nothing in the middle. Why is that?
Do you want to start?
way the city's dealt with the auto dealerships in Littleton is where they've had inventory storage. We have not considered that as a parking lot to say. It's actually an inventory storage lot, so we required more beefed up landscaping around the inventory storage lot as screening versus doing islands, and because they pack the cars in there, it's their inventory lot. So
it's a matter of if the public is going to use the lot, then you require
exactly, and we've done that on the other Broadway dealerships as well, where the customers and the public park. Those are treated as a regular parking lot with shade. In fact, in some of their display areas they have in those areas, they'll have some shade and landscape islands. But like most of the dealerships on Broadway, their inventory lots are behind their buildings, and they're screened versus, we've focused on screening those areas versus providing landscape islands throughout when they're actually used to just strictly stack the inventory back there. So that's been how it's been dealt with. So.
While you're up here, is David Blake, has he seen the landscaping plan and approved
Well,
it?
he's met with them in our technical meetings, and he's the one that has also suggested that, and that's been a long time opinion of Dave's, is to treat them as inventory lots, screen the perimeters of the lots, and not require the landscape islands in them.
Okay. I'm asking mostly for the perimeter.
Yes, and when we do... so he has signed off on the concepts that were presented in the reviews with the PD plan, but they will be required to do a final landscape plan that he signs off on for the buffering and anything else before they construct the lot. So
Jan, we would expect to see a more beefed up landscaping on that south edge, closer to the dealership.
Yeah, I mean there'll be the beefed up around for the canal, and then
Right.
Any
On
kind
that
of
edge.
screening along the other edge as well. Because it's kind of, this is set up a little bit differently. All the dealerships on Broadway have their sales on Broadway, and then their inventory's behind the buildings. This is a little bit different, so we're going to try to treat this as behind the building, and then they screen around it with vegetation. So.
Jan, I have one question before you leave. What kind of revenue does this generate for the city? Is it just a property tax from a commercial entity?
Well, is used as a parking, as parking inventory, it would just be I believe just property tax, right? Yeah. If down the road, they do build sales there, of course, with cars, the sales tax applies to whatever city the car is delivered to, which is who buys the car.
Right.
So, but if they put any, the service shops in there, then sales tax is generated from parts and service. So that's where the city sees most of their revenue off the dealerships,
Okay.
I believe.
Questions? Any more comment?
No,
Great, thank you.
Appreciate it.
It's a public hearing. Do we have anybody sign in?
Oh, I'm sorry, it's here. It was empty.
I gave you the hearing roster. Nobody signed on that. So,
Is there anyone that would like to speak about this evening? If you want to come down and give your name and address. Public? Anyone? Crickets. Motion?
I motion to approve Planning Board Resolution number 2014-12, which forwards a favorable recommendation to City Council.
I'll second. I'd like to make one comment.
Please.
This is such a glorious site that I would hope in the future that a better use than a parking lot would be made of this site. It's fabulous views of the mountains, the reservoir, the Highline Canal. Spectacular site. So, as you say, perhaps as property values go up, that could just be a fabulous place for buildings with a view.
Anyone else? Comments?
I think you should put keep that in mind and make it beautiful, but bring service and parts, and feel free to open commercial businesses in Littleton. We're 100% supportive of this idea. At least I am.
We avoided the 2-2 tie.
Motion passed.
Can get embarrassing.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda. Resolution to approve the preliminary plat for approving the Littleton Village Replat 1 subdivision preliminary plat.
Good evening, I'm Andrea Mimnaugh with the Planning Department. And tonight's agenda, as you've seen, includes 2 preliminary plats for Littleton Village. And before we get into the specifics of each of these applications, I thought I'd give a very brief overview of Littleton Village development. And I apologize, we don't have the slides or any overhead tonight, so hopefully you can work through your packet on your laptops there. Littleton Village is located at the northeast corner of South Broadway and East Dry Creek Road, and it is 77 acres in size. The amended general development plan was approved by City Council in 2013. The parcel is a mix of uses with well-connected and pedestrian-friendly plan. On the westerly portion of the site, the plan allows for commercial and higher density residential uses. And on the easterly portion of the site, which is where tonight's 2 preliminary plats are located, the plan allows for a mixture of low and medium density residential uses with a variety of housing products. The overall site has a cap of 250,000 square feet of commercial and up to 900 dwelling units. The overall subdivision plat for Littleton Village was approved in July of this year. The plat consists of 13 3-to-6 parcels for future development, and development within these parcels, of course, must be consistent with the General Plan Development Plan, or GPDP. So, for Littleton Village Replat 1, the applicant is Norris Design for Richmond American Homes, and preliminary plat criteria includes street access and utility easements to serve building lots, and also zoning requirements per the amended General Plan Development Plan. Specifically, we're looking at density, maximum number of units per parcel, and lot sizes. The parcels included in this application, Replat 1, are P, M, and T. They're shown in the darker yellow color on the easterly portion of the site if you are looking at this overall map in your packet. So beginning with Parcel P is located at the east of Central Park, and is designated for single-family small lot development. Lot sizes range from 1,800 square feet to 3,032 square feet, and there are a total of 56 lots proposed. Moving on to Parcel M. Parcel M is towards the southeast corner of the site and includes lots that range between 4,700 square feet and 9,800 square feet, the total of 22 lots. And this lot, this parcel is the only one out of all of the we're seeing tonight that includes a public street that runs through it to serve those lots. Now, on this page, if you're going through your packet there, on the page where you see Parcel M, you'll also see off to the east a portion of Parcel T. Parcel T isn't located all on one sheet because of its oblong size. So the southerly portion of it is on that sheet, and when you flip it to the next sheet, you can see the remainder of it. And this is the lowest density portion of all of the parcels. There are a total of 23 lots, and the density is 3.7 dwelling units per acre. Now, in conjunction with this application, there is a second application that's related, and this relates to a proposal for on-street parking. Both Century Communities and Richmond American Homes have requested an amendment to the width of the right-of-way along the two Landscape Boulevard streets, which are East Hinsdale and East Dry Creek Court. The amendment requests additional foot of right-of-way on each side of the landscape median so that on-street parking can be accommodated. There is a sheet in your packet that shows the actual street sections, what was approved with the overall preliminary plat and what's being proposed with this administrative amendment.
Can you show us on the map, just point exactly where you're talking about?
Yes. The two landscape boulevards run east-west. We have East Hinsdale and East Dry Creek Court.
Okay.
And so what we're talking about is widening the right-of-way so that it would be slicing off a foot of the landscape boulevard on each side of each landscaped island, if that makes sense.
And it would be parking on one side only of each street?
Parking on one side of each street, that's right. So the parking lane itself that would be created would be 8 feet in width. And so the way we get to 8 feet is we have the 1 feet of extra right-of-way. The bicycle lane, which was 8 feet in width, then moves down to 5 feet in width. And then the drive lane, which was 16 feet in width, moves down to 13 feet in width. And so if you add those together, we get 8. Staff favors the addition of the on-street parking because it would provide guest parking and would help buffer pedestrians from traffic, and the result is a complete street that supports pedestrian, bicycle, and vehicle travel. Now you are probably wondering what the actual homes might look like on the site, and that is a separate application that is administrative, and staff is beginning to review the architecturals on that. But I do think that both of the applicants have brought some examples of what they are bringing through the process, so you get a chance to peek at those. In conclusion, with respect to the requirements for the proposed preliminary plat, staff finds that the subdivision meets the city's subdivision and engineering requirements and complies with Littleton Village General Plan Development Plan. Staff recommends approval of the preliminary plat, and Resolution 15-2014 in your packet reflects the recommendation. It'll be available for any questions.
I have one question. I wasn't here when this all started, however many years ago that was. Is the density that they're proposing now the same to the density that was proposed in the original plan that was submitted?
Yes, the density was proposed in the original plan. Now, there has been one staff amendment. It's been a density transfer, which staff has approved. It was dictated in the original and amended GPDP that density could be transferred basically from the eastern portion of the site towards the western portion of the site. So as a result, parcel K, which we'll see in the next application, which is going to be townhome development, picked up a couple of units per acre. So I believe it would go from 14 units up to 16 units per acre. Other than that, everything fits within these densities that have been established.
I do have a question. On parcel M, and this might be a question for the applicant too, but parcel M, you went way down on the density units per acre of 14 down to 5. Was that just something they proposed and the city said, Jim Dandy, or what?
The way the general plan development plan is established is that there's a maximum and there is no minimum. And so when this was proposed, we felt that it met the requirements, and here we are.
That's that, okay.
I guess going back to Board Member Moore's question, so the density has come down. I think as the tables that Andrea put in your staff report shows, for the most part, they've all gone down from what is allowed, basically, from the max.
Andrea, one question on the sidewalks. They're not changing the width of that sidewalk then when they're making that street narrower?
On which street?
With the change of the street from 16 to 13 feet, but the sidewalk is remaining the same.
Yes, the sidewalks were approved at 8 feet in width, and they will remain at 8 feet in width. I'm sorry, the sidewalks are 6 feet.
Okay.
And the tree lawns, which were 8 feet, will also remain at 8 feet.
Okay. And 13 feet is adequate for fire?
Yes, it's adequate for car traffic and has also gotten approval from the fire department.
Okay. Anything else? Does the applicant want to make a presentation? Or, if possible, without lights?
Yeah, hi, good evening. My name is Jared Carlin. I'm with Norris Design. I always bring these packets and print them, and usually never had a chance to use them. So, while I don't want the I'd rather have the presentation. It's kind of interesting, fun that we have it. So, pass those out. Well, thank you, board members and staff, for your time this evening. We're really excited about being in front of you to talk about the 3 parcels. And I want to specifically thank, we've had a lot of meetings with city staff and Andrea, Jan and Glenn, David Flagg, Charlie Boston, Bob Deeds, et cetera. And they've been all great to work with, and it's been a team approach to this and to get to the point where we're at tonight. And excited to go through all the details of the project. I'm also here with representing, as Andrea said, represented Richmond American Homes, and Matt Hengel's here at the end to answer any questions if you have any. I'm with Norris Design. We're the planner and landscape architect. My colleague Kim Holland is here as well, and our civil engineer is Innovative Land Consultants, and Tess Hogan's here. And then also our surveyor, Aztec Consultants, Derek Brown, is here as well to answer any questions at the end. We've been following the Marathon Oil site in our industry for quite some time, and it's been a parcel that everyone's looked at for a long time. So it's as you know, it's the largest infill development opportunity in the city. So we're just excited to work on it, as I said. Flip the pages as we move forward. Flipping the page once to slide 2, the vicinity map. The whole overall site's about 77 acres. You can see that it's anchored on the west side by Broadway and then on the south side by Dry Creek. To the north is a neighborhood in the city of Centennial called Southwind Subdivision along East Geddes Avenue. To the south is a Sinclair gas station, Littleton Adventist Hospital, and then a neighborhood called Oakbrook, Filing 1 to the south, kind of east there. To the east is another neighborhood in the city of Centennial, the South Glen neighborhood, along Washington Street. And then to the west, you have phenomenal views, and there's a professional sort of office center to the west there. Flipping to the next slide, you can see those views. Looking to the west, these are recent photos of construction activity on the site, but approximately where our parcels are located. And Both are kind of looking to the west, and you can see the dirt's been moved, and there's activity out there. In 1955, Marathon Oil Company started operating the site as a petroleum research facility. Locally, it's been known as Marathon, and is once a very well-manicured property, providing lots of employment for Littleton. They stopped operations there in about 2000, and by about 2006, most of the structures were removed from the site. On to the next slide is the overall map that Andrea already presented. For a little bit more history, back in 2006, the original PDP was approved for mixed-use open space and high to low-density residential. Of course, then we had the recession, and then it was brought back in 2013 with an administrative amendment to the GPDP. And then over this past year, the preliminary plat and final plat were both approved for the overall project. And that's what brings us here today. And in this map, primarily on the west side, you have commercial lots. And as you move towards the east, you transition into residential. And that residential starts with those sort of tan-colored blocks, which are multifamily and higher density residential. And then as you move further to the east, you get less density. And that you can see that on specifically the parcels that Richmond's developing, parcels P, M, and T, which are the subject of our presentation, our portion of the presentation. We're excited. There's a strong open space network and parks plan and design. We're also working on some of that design, and it's strong, and our parcels are capitalizing off of the frontage on those open space areas. So switching again to the next slide, it's parcel P, and that's, if you look back on the previous slide, parcel P is the furthest west. It's also our densest parcel that we're working on. As far as those three parcels, it's 3.69 acres, a density of 15.2 dwelling units per acre. It's less intense because we could do up to 18 DUs per acre. 65 allowed lots. We're proposing 56. All of the lots here front open space, and their front doors of the homes will front open space in all cases. There's internal. All the lots have internal alleys, alley-loaded product, and also we've provided parking spaces. You can sort of see in the internal on the east and on west side of those homes where we have parking spaces for guests and sort of some open area there as well. It's all compatible with the areas surrounding. We've worked and met with Century to make sure that the parcels are responding to each other. And we've had lots of meetings with the city staff, the fire department, utilities, Denver Water, to talk about easements and how we're getting the water lines through there. And all of those entities have favorably approved not only this parcel but the other two as well. The next slide is. Before I leave this slide, you can see, the lots, especially on the west side, have fantastic views of the mountains, and they front that central park, which will be a really good thing. The lots on the north and south front the very wide median that connects the overall development with each other. So moving on to the next slide, kind of gives you a taste of the architecture. We feel it's really attractive, has interesting articulation, rooftop patios, are proposed in some cases, which help lend to the urban nature of the project, with outdoor rooms, and we think it complements the surrounding community. Again, we've met here with the fire department, with the building department as well, City of Littleton Building Department, to make sure that we're meeting all the setback things, building separation, and that kind of stuff with this product. As Andrea mentioned, moving on to the next slide is the section. And we're very excited about this change in the GPDP and this amendment, because without it, we wouldn't have on-street parking on those sides of those parcels. And to add to the urban nature of the project, we feel it's really important to have that on-street parking. And when we started looking at this, we didn't know if it was going to be able to get done, but we were able to work with all the different people involved that had an interest in this, the fire department and the city, and the developers, of course, as well. And we were able to modify the section in order to have on-street parking. Previously, there was 16 feet drive lanes and then an 8-foot bike lane, both which were oversized. So that was the main reason why we were able to make this work. We were able to make those more appropriate. And we were down to the 13-foot drive lane, 8-foot or 5-foot bike lane, and an 8-foot on-street parking, which is what you see a lot in City of Denver sections around the city. As Andrea said, we took a foot out of the central boulevards, but we also pushed the walk a foot into the parcels. And so while we didn't modify the actual property line there to keep things cleaner, there's a sidewalk easement that sidewalk's actually pushed a foot into the parcel, essentially taking a foot of the developable area away from the parcel. So there's very much a compromise when it came to adding the parking. But we're very happy that this was so supportive by all entities. And then moving forward to parcel M, this is the parcel with the public street going through it. It is 4.3 acres, 4.35 acres to be exact, has a density of 5 DUs per acre, as was previously mentioned, quite a bit lower in density than what we could build. As we move towards the east, we feel this is obviously geared more towards the population that's wants more of a traditional single-family home. And as you move closer to the east side of the project, there are single-family homes that are, getting into these densities. So we thought it was appropriate in this case to do that. The garages that front East Dry Creek Place and that very nice wide Monaco-style median, we're turning the garages there so that they're not fronting them, and making the architecture so that you're not having a row of garages there and sharing driveways and that kind of thing. Again, lots of meetings that we've had with city staff to try to make sure that architecture and that street presence is going to be appropriate, because it's really critical given that the median and the wide medians right there. The next page is the proposed architecture. It represents the Richmond quality that you're used to seeing, lots of varied articulation, varieties of facades and heights of the buildings to create an interesting streetscape. And then parcel T is the long parcel on the very eastern edge of the site. This map is actually turned 90 degrees, so north is to the right. And we have 23 proposed lots here on 4.35 acres, so it's about 3.7 DUs to the acre. We could go up to 7 here, so this is where the densities is bringing it down, but we're still underneath the density that we're allowed. And just a lot more of an intense use, again, for more of those people looking for the traditional single-family homes. There's a large buffer, a Denver water easement, and some other utility easements that's running between the backside of those lots and the existing neighborhood in the city to the east. And then the architecture is the final slide here. That's the similar architecture that's on parcel M that we already talked about. Would use the similar product. With lots of articulation and variation along the street. Along parcel T, all those driveways are going to be shared, so you'll have minimal access, curb cuts for safety, and also to create a strong streetscape along that eastern road. So with that, we'll open it up to questions. Like I said, our whole team's here to answer any questions you have. Again, really appreciate your time tonight. It's such a cool project to be involved with, and we're here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Mark?
Well, it's maybe a question masquerading as an editorial comment. Come on down. You? Do I do that? I've said for years that if you build empty nester housing on this site, you will sell the properties before you're halfway done with construction. There's that much demand for it. So, judging by what you're showing me here, it looks like perhaps the dense 3-story buildings might be classified as an empty nester, although I don't know if you can put any elevators in or anything. But any rate, it seems like the rest of the homes here are fairly standard homes for Littleton. They look good. And I love your variety of heights and textures. Normally we see, my favorite expression is cell block 17 type housing here, and I don't see this here, so it's refreshing. But could you respond to the question about empty nester housing here?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's the goal is to create a variety of housing, and we're working with, I'm particularly working with Richmond on just 3 parcels. I think you'll see Century expands on that variety of housing as well. There's other multifamily sites that are towards those tan sites on that overall map that perhaps could be that empty nester housing potentially, but also definitely on our parcel P, we think that could be, like you just said, the product that maybe would be sufficient for or be attractive for empty nesters. As you move towards you're right, as you move towards the east, it's more geared to somebody that's looking for more of a traditional neighborhood. But I think you get the beauty about having those types of parcels, and I think when you see the other presentation is there is a good variety of housing throughout all the parcels and kind of mixed around the site, and with the densities transitioning, I think it works.
I could see that transition in density going from low to high as you go west would be very beneficial to the existing neighborhood to the east.
Yes.
And then increasing density towards the west. I think my comments were for you, but more so maybe for owners of the site, developer of the site, down the road.
Thank you.
I did have one question. On parcel P, I believe that's where part of the road, where it gets the parking off-street parking. If the road isn't, made smaller to accommodate for that parking, where would guests park currently? Where would be guest parking in parcel P?
Parcel P. So are you saying if the on-street parking doesn't move forward?
Yeah. Or just where's extra parking?
So there'd be there's on-street parking. I think there's some on-street parking along the east or the west side of the site, and also so that'd be a Logan, and then we also have interior guest parking for these interior lots. So there's 5 spaces on either side, so a total of 10. So
Okay.
that's what I was describing earlier.
Okay.
Yeah, those
Gotcha.
parking lot areas.
Okay.
Just a quick clarification, I think on this map,
Yeah.
I see East Dry Creek Place on the south side of parcel P.
Yes.
And on the next page, your parcel P, lot 1, block 4, it says East Dry Creek Avenue. So is it place or avenue?
The road.
Yeah.
Well, Dry Creek Road is the southernmost edge, but this is inside the subdivision, correct?
That's an excellent point and good catch, and we'll figure that out as we.
Place, okay. So your avenue may be not a big deal.
Don't run into an Inverness problem.
What's that?
Don't run into an Inverness problem where
Yeah.
everything is named
No.
Inverness.
Oh, yeah.
A little variety.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else.
Editorial comment.
Okay. Anything? I think we're,
Thank you very much.
thank
for your
you.
time.
Motion?
Where's it? Trying to find
What's
it.
the name of it? Area.
Second,
As soon as we find what it is.
Just before the motion's made, the motion covers all 3 parcels, it sounds like.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the resolution approving the preliminary plat for Littleton. Whoops, that's the proposed motion. Let me see. Version. Okay. To approve the resolution approving the preliminary plat for Littleton Village, replat 1 subdivision.
Second.
Comments? Discussion?
I just have one for the staff, and it would be a request. In future plats, could we see what finally gets approved as an underlay of whatever is the new thing we're talking about as we go through this project?
Oh,
just
good
so we
idea.
have a grand picture of what the density looks like.
So we build out the project, basically?
Correct. So we don't forget what it was, and it's not just a block.
Yes, we'll do that. It's a
Thank you.
good idea.
I think it's a great looking plan.
Anyone else? Vote? Approved. Thank you.
Been waiting for this for a long time.
Next item on the agenda, resolution approving the Littleton Village Replat 2 subdivision preliminary plat.
Okay, so Littleton Village subdivision replat 2 has been submitted by Century Communities. And looking at the overall map again, replat 2 encompasses those parcels shown in pale yellow, and they are known as parcels Q, S, N, and K. And like replat 1, the review criteria focuses on how the lot layout complies with the zoning requirements that's been set forth in the general plan development plan. And we will go right into the parcels. Parcel N is located between the two landscape boulevards west of South Pennsylvania Street, and homes gain vehicle access from private alleys and front onto public streets or open space. There are a total of 22 lots, and their size ranges from 6,200 square feet to 8,000 square feet. Parcels Q and S, up at the top of the site, are for single-family detached homes. The applicant is proposing a range in lot size from 4,232 to 5,659 square feet, and there are a total of 42 lots. And the last of Century's 4 parcels is K. The proposal includes townhome lots, and like all of Century's parcels, homes gain access from private alleys and front onto streets or open space. There are a total of 68 townhome lots. The minimum lot size is 1,500 square feet, and the lots in this parcel range from 1,500 up to 1,900 square feet. As discussed in the previous application, the application includes an adjustment to the right-of-way along the landscape boulevard, and again, this is to accommodate an 8-foot lane for on-street parking. Staff finds that the Littleton Village Replat 2 subdivision preliminary plat conforms to the requirements of the zoning set forth in the Littleton Village General Plan Development Plan and the city's subdivision regulations, and therefore recommends approval. Resolution 15-2014 is included in your packet and reflects this recommendation.
My packet has,
packet
mine
doesn't have
packet doesn't have it. This is,
It has no attachments?
There is no
No,
plat
yeah.
2 at all.
so how can we look at this?
Okay. Well,
Thought I was an idiot.
Yeah.
I was
running on that one.
You were going to let me be the idiot.
Oh, yeah. You're going down alone.
What else is new? Anybody else? Do you have, are you missing it?
We're seeing it down here.
Yesterday, I didn't see that.
You can, if you look go through the online agenda and videos, which is how I'm accessing it, I have it.
Well, I never had it beforehand, so I've technically never looked at it.
Didn't get it with the rest of the packet, it wasn't attached.
Be happy to show you what I see.
No, I'm just saying that if you wanted to look at it now, we can get you there.
How do we get to there again?
And Jan is making small-size copies now, too.
I'd say I really don't feel comfortable just jumping right in on it. I would move to postpone this hearing until we have a chance to review the design.
Is that a motion?
Is it time to do those?
You can anytime.
Okay. I don't feel comfortable. That's probably fine. I'm very pleased with what I saw in the first round, but as a matter of procedure, I just don't feel comfortable making a quick decision on something I've never seen.
It was on your agenda, however. I mean, Did that not?
It was never in my packet, and I was told to trust my packet for having everything I needed.
Trust the packet. You're right. I think it would probably help regardless to maybe walk through the presentation anyhow, so you'd be that much further ahead.
They're
Why
here.
don't we go through the presentation and have the applicant go through their presentation, and then we'll decide if we want to postpone.
That's fair.
Okay?
Thank you.
Would you
Andrea,
like to
just a
hear-
quick, on the streets were done the same way as the first packet, narrowed streets?
The landscaped boulevards, yes. They would have the additional right-of-way, the
Added for the
vehicle.
parking lane, changed the bike lane, and changed the width of the driving lane.
that's right.
And the sidewalks are the same.
And the
as in
tree
the other
lawn
packet.
is the same.
Tree lawn is the
And then
same.
the landscape boulevard shrinks by 1 foot on each side.
Okay.
Does the applicant have this they can hand out ahead of time? Be a lot easier following you if we have this for replat number 2. Could we get that now?
We've got now small-sized copies of replat 2 to hand out.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mike Cooper with Century Communities, and I think I sympathize with you not seeing the plat, but I think I can guide you through it. Our blocks are somewhat uniform. They're fairly straightforward. We're proposing all alley product. It's a pretty clean plat, I think, as you'll browse through it here. I would request that if we could get a vote tonight, it would be greatly appreciated. And if you have any questions, I can certainly talk you through it. So, just to give you a little background on Century Communities, we're a local builder here. We build single-family homes and townhomes from Colorado Springs up to Fort Collins. We're currently, I believe, the leading builder of townhomes and attached housing in Colorado. I think you're all pretty acclimated to the site plan at this point. On the third page, catch up there and get your bearings for a minute here. But Andrea highlighted the parcels that we have, Q, S, N, and K. And the 3 northern parcels are the detached lots, and parcel K, which is just north of East Dry Creek Road, are the townhomes that we propose. And I think you'll see our proposal is really following the layout of the overall plat for Littleton Village. The key features being the central park and the boulevard parks. And as we go through the layout of our parcels and the architecture, I think you'll find that everything really addresses the streets and addresses the boulevard parks in a fairly appropriate fashion. So beyond the overall plat, we have a layout that kind of shows all of the plats that are before you tonight. If you go one more, it kind of highlights just our parcels, where the other Richmond parcels are kind of ghosted back. And that might be a good one for you to look at to kind of get clarity on our proposal. You all there? So on the north 3 parcels, we're proposing 64 detached lots and 68 townhomes on the southern piece. Everything's alley loaded, so it creates a very strong pedestrian realm along the streets.
This is hard to follow. Which parcels are you speaking of now? Q and S, or where are you starting?
Okay, if you go back to the overall plat.
Too small to really look at. I'm looking at your colored picture here.
Right.
Which parcels?
So we're Q, S, N, and K.
Right, I got that.
So the first ones I'm going to start with are, if you go to parcel K is the townhomes.
K is the first one. Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So if you go to that plan here that shows the attached housing. We'll start with that. We're creating a strong presence on East Dry Creek Road and Logan Street and East Dry Creek Place, having all the fronts of the homes, front of the street. Everything's alley loaded, and we provide these additional courtyards through the centers of the site. So those units will actually front onto a garden court and not onto the street. So we have a combination of some units front to the street and some face inward towards these garden courts. A nice feature about these townhomes is that the end units have entrances on them, so you actually see kind of the fronts of the buildings on three sides of the buildings. And then additionally on the alleys, we dress up the architecture. We have a lot of windows, masonry, and other design elements that actually make the rears of the homes attractive too along the alleys. And just to give you a flavor of the architecture, this isn't the final product. We're working through that currently with staff on the details of the architecture. But this kind of gives you the style, the kind of traditional style that we're proposing. We'll probably have one style with brick and one with stone. But as you can see, there's a nice variety. All the units have covered porches and balconies, very nicely articulated fronts to the homes and entrances. Nice varied roof lines, a lot of gables and dormers. Very traditional style, I think, is very fitting for the city of Littleton. The units are ranging from about 1,700 square feet up to about 1,800 or 1,900 square feet. Price point will probably be in the mid-threes starting, around there, we're thinking. You go to the next sheet.
Are there attached garages off the alleyways?
There are attached garages, yeah, off the alley.
The alleyways?
Yeah,
Okay.
every unit has a two-car attached garage. We provide about 8 parking spaces on our site on the east side of the parcel, as well as the parking that's proposed along the boulevard streets.
What is the allowed density and currently, and what are you proposing for density? For K.
For K, the townhome
You're going to
piece?
do that for each one.
Right, so it was kind of, we had to transfer some density from another parcel to allow for this townhome piece, because I think we were slightly over in density on this parcel, whereas I think it was 15 was allowed, and we're proposing just over it. So we just borrowed a few units from another parcel, because on the single-family detached, we're under the allowed density.
Which other parcel did you borrow from?
I don't know if, I guess just the other 3 parcels combined, we borrowed from all 3. I don't know which ones.
So K is, what's the density, I'm sorry, proposed?
I don't know offhand. There's 68 units. I don't know offhand. I think it's like 16 maybe. Yeah, so what's the density?
It says 16.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
It says 16 in the
Yeah, 16 per
details.
acre.
Yeah, so there's 68 units, and it's about 16 DU per acre. So we're just over the 15, I think, on the GDP, but the GDP allows for density transfer between parcels. And I think if you've indicated we're below density on most of the other parcels. So.
The other 3 parcels, if you would do the same thing when you present those,
Sure.
Give us the density
Sure.
allowed and what you're proposing.
Okay. So yeah, so we're working through the architectural details on the townhomes. Moving to the next slide is kind of showing a typical single-family detached block that we're proposing. And I think as you'll see on the plat, it's a fairly standard layout on all of our blocks. So this is showing the most northern block on parcel Q. And as you see, all the fronts of the homes are to the streets or to an internal courtyard. So on the middle of these blocks, we put these landscaped courtyards. So the homes that are facing kind of east-west face these public court areas. And then on the corner lots, we provide wrap porches, and we enhance the homes with little bit more masonry, so that when a home sides up to the boulevard street, we're taking measures to make it more attractive and not your typical side of a house that you see. And just to give you some flavor of the architecture on the next sheet is a typical kind of streetscape scene. So we'll be providing about 4 to 5 different home models, and each home model will have 2 different styles. So we'll be doing an arts and crafts style, and I believe a craftsman style. So as you can see, there's going to be a lot of different variety, even if you see the same home plan. By having these 2 different architectural styles applied to them, you're going to see a lot of variety on the streetscape. And over the next couple pages are just some different variations that we've done in the past, similar to these kind of more traditional home styles. But as you can see, all of the garages are hidden in the rears. This is what you'll see from the street. All homes have covered front porches. A lot of variety in the roof forms and materials, different ways that the entrances are articulated. And so we're still working through that. We'll be submitting those to the Architectural Control Committee and to the city as well for conformance to the design guidelines. So we've really taken our cues from the overall plat and set our community up to really address the street, hide the garages, and really provide additional public spaces, even in addition to the Central Park and the Boulevard parks. Provide other spaces in there that these homes front onto, and create even more additional pedestrian connections throughout this community. So we're really excited to complete this and look forward to any questions you have.
Quick one. Don't have my calculator. I see that you have the square footage of the lot for the single-family homes. What does that equate to in acreage? 0.15, 0.14, do you know?
So if they're about 5,000, it might be like 1/8 of an acre.
I don't know square footage, I know acre.
Yeah, it's hard to, when you go down that small, it's kind of hard to do, but I guess generally maybe, 1/10 of an acre or something like that. If it was like a 5,000 square foot lot.
Little lots in downtown are like 0.14, I think is the minimum, right? 0.15. It's okay.
I apologize, Board Member Nikki. The single-family parcels, I think we're around 5 DU per acre, that range.
Okay, your packet for replat number 2, you show K and parcel K and parcel Q. Is parcel S and parcel N in replat number 2, or is that down the road? There's nothing in your packet.
No, parcel Q, S, and N are all in the packet and part of the plat.
Yeah, but I'm not seeing any blow-up of, I see a blow-up of Q. Where's the blow-up of?
I think because they're all the same.
Are they all the same?
Yeah, it's a typical kind of layout. So if you look at the overall plan here, that'll give you an indication of how those blocks will be developed.
So you're lumping Q,
exactly.
S, and N together,
right?
As far as the general concept.
Exactly. Both those major blocks have that courtyard down the middle where the homes front onto the courtyard, and they're arranged in a very similar fashion where they're very short blocks. There's about a maximum of 6 homes on a block length, and they all are very similar in form. So I didn't repeat that.
It's essentially the same houses of your 4 or 5 or 6 models.
Correct. Yep.
Just different elevations.
Right. Yeah, so if we have 4 or 5 models with 2 elevation styles, we'll have between 8 to 10 different looking homes over about 64 lots. So we can get a good variety, and we'll work with staff to create a system where we're not repeating homes on adjacent lots, and come up with some criteria where we're monitoring that as we go along, and we're making sure that, the popular plan isn't built on 3 consecutive lots and changing the color or something like that. So we'll work with staff on that.
Not counting these elevations, are you building these homes, this size of home, somewhere in the metro area right now?
We are. We're building these in a couple different locations. up in Broomfield and Westminster currently.
So, you show a, looks like a shared courtyard. I assume that's owned by all. It's not private. It's open to the the 10 or 12 houses that back up to it. So it's a common area.
Yeah, their front doors are actually on the courtyard. The garages are in the rear.
That's why.
So, yeah, it'll be a nice little, it's kind of like Stapleton. They have a lot of that where they have these little green spaces and have a cluster of homes that come onto a common area. And yes, those will be a tract that'll be owned and maintained by the Metro District.
That explains why on the the west end of your enlarged plan, those homes front onto the streets and the courtyard's not required. Okay.
That's correct.
Okay.
What are the square footage of those homes approximately? What's the range?
The single-family homes?
Single-family.
I think about 2,100 to 2,700 square feet, roughly.
Will they have basements and?
They will have basements, yeah. Yeah, the townhomes will not have basements, and the single-family homes will. So you could probably get up to closer to 3,200 square feet with a basement. And the nice thing about the way we design these homes, the single-family homes, is that even though they have an attached rear garage, the way that the homes are shaped is they actually have, we plat the lots such that you have a usable area in the backyard that's kind of fenced off. And so we take good care to make sure that there's enough like 20 plus foot wide area by 40 or 50 feet deep area to have a kind of a backyard space.
I don't see any ranch models. Do you have any ranches?
No, we're not proposing any ranch
Do
style.
you have a price point where you're going to start?
Single family?
Single family.
Probably high threes, low fours to start.
As I'm looking through this, I see that parcel Q and S, 5 and 6 dwelling units per acre. Is that accurate? I mean, that's what's on this
Yeah, that sounds about
number.
right.
And also at 6 dwelling units per acre,
Yeah,
with K up to 16.
that sounds about right.
Okay. Are you building this same style with this courtyard idea in the area? Did you build these in Stapleton, this or something like it?
I don't believe we built these in Stapleton. I know we're building them, we're starting a community right now where it has a little bit of this on the courtyard. Think of one where we've done it before, but we're starting a community. We're just starting to break ground on it now. But we have it planned like that where there's actually a park, a little pocket park that the homes front onto.
Good questions. Carrie? Mark? Thoughts?
I have a comment for staff if
Okay.
we get to that.
I think. Mark, you had some
Andrea,
thoughts, questions for Andrea?
Looks like we're on track. I think, over 900 units are allowed on this site, and we're on track for probably 500.
Well, let's see, we've got 101 plus 138, so 240. And then there will also be the high density that will
Right.
be on the easterly or the westerly portion of the site. But we probably won't get to 900 units, that's right.
Which maybe is not a bad thing, but that was a lot of units. Okay. So you can see the trend here. It'll be interesting to see. By the way, is there any timetable for looking at the rest of the parcels?
We have no other applications in.
Okay.
We're only looking at the easterly portion.
Do you have any commercial applications or none at all?
No, these two home builders are the first to come forward since the overall plat.
Is there a Littleton Village committee, not you guys, but private, that is overseeing all this?
Well, the developer is Watt, who's from
Okay.
California, and so they are putting together an architectural control committee. They're also putting together the Metro District. And right now, if you've been by this site, you've seen that there is construction on the infrastructure installation and grading.
Want to have a discussion? Do you want to postpone the vote, or you guys have comments, questions?
I would vote in favor of going to a vote.
You have a motion?
I move that we move to a vote. You want me to make the motion? It's going to be a stolen version of replat 1. I move to approve the resolution approving the preliminary plat for Littleton Village replat 2 subdivision.
Second?
Discussion? Vote? Passed.
That was a quick analysis.
Thank you. General business, staff report?
Steph, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Sorry we had a glitch with our technology, but we will get that figured out. From me, I would like to remind, I think several of you have agreed to go on the tour on Saturday morning. So those of you that are coming, I look forward to seeing you then. That's this Saturday. And then also October 2nd, we you'll start seeing the publicity coming out for our first neighborhood meeting in the Heritage, at the Heritage High School. So we're working with actually Randy and Karina on the agenda for that meeting, and I think you'll have a great time next Thursday night, October 2nd. With that, I really don't have anything else.
And I will be out of town on the 2nd, so I will not be able to attend that.
It's my wife's birthday, so I'm sure she would be happy
Cancel.
to come.
She'd bring her along.
Yeah,
sure,
I'm
we'll
sure
have
she would
cookies.
be excited. Is there
Highlight of
pizza or anything?
All right. That's it from staff.
Anyone else? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Adjourned.
Okay.
This time, where they have failed before, raised the bar to increase the quality of community and economic development. List is definitely raising the bar. Use tools such as small area plan, zoning, capital improvements, and other incentives to set the stage for redevelopment and new development designated activity areas.